JJ's cryptic corner where the coins keep turning. Logging now, the future's burning. JJ's cryptic corner. JJ's cryptic corner. Pixels glow, charts flow, crypto whispers, secrets show. He cracks the code on this winding road. JJ's cryptic corner. JJ's cryptic corner. JJ's cryptic corner. JJ's cryptic corner. JJ's cryptic. Tune in, lean back, grab your coffee, hit the track. JJ's live, don't be late. Cryptic wisdom, seal your fate. JJ's cryptic.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Happy Friday, guys. What a crazy day today was. Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Bitcoin currently trading at $84,221.98 after a tremendous, monumental rug over the past, 3-4 months. We're seeing some stabilization in comparison to gold and silver. A ridiculously large amount of money removed from the market caps of gold and silver. Historic levels, one might add. This blue, in case you are curious, is my long position because I like making bad trades. I did have a short on this, but it was only like $10, so I only made like $3 off of it. But it was still money made. I love creating taxable events for $3. All right. Let's see, refresh our liquidation heat map and see where we're at on the Bitcoin. Tom Selleck's goat. Gourmet Brands, what's going on, guys? Gourmet said Warsh is going to put confidence in the USD, I guess they assume. I don't know. He's been the weirdest, most flip-floppy person. I don't know why anyone would ever pick him for anything. It's very confusing. We've got 83,492. Now we are weekend, 83,492. So I'm fully expecting weekend liquidity, weekend price action. 82,160. And then our top chunk, we've got 84,690. Nice. 84,690. And the tippity top of the top we have, I'm going to go right here, 86,022. Okay. Very, very cool. What's crazy is I was talking to my fiance yesterday. I was like, should I sell an ounce of silver when silver was over 100 and around $120? And I didn't even get the chance to because silver is, as you guys may know, not very liquid. I can't just turn on my computer and sell some unless I have paper contracts, but that's not physical silver. So I'm just saying, it's very nice when I can just panic sell my Bitcoin right away. Let's see. Tom Selleck said, yeah, which kind of sucks for all assets because people were trying to get rid of dollars. What if Trump ends up nominating someone else when it's time? That'd be really funny. That would be so funny. The Senate or whoever, somebody has to sign off on it though first, and they're like, we're not going to do that unless you stop saying mean things about Powell, because they're doing an investigation into him because the building renovation costs more than the building itself, which makes no sense to me. I'm sorry. Nothing on this planet, unless it is like 2 World Trade Centers, should cost several $billion to build. That's ridiculously insane. I'm pretty sure the Burj Khalifa was cheaper than this construction project. So I don't blame the investigation. We're kind of just hemorrhaging cash. It's kind of weird to me. Just saying. Lunar Entity said, for the average American or saver that isn't hoarding capital and assets, Kevin Warsh will be a breath of fresh air. He seems so weird to me. Calvin said, this May will mark my 7th year in Bitcoin, and I only sold once, 42K, only to buy back the very next day. Lesson learned. I definitely get that sometimes. Sometimes I'll get really mad. I'll get really emotional. I'm going to be like, F this. And then I like sell like 1%. And I wait like 3-4 hours. I'm like, I'm not going to buy back in. I'm sick of this. And 3-4 hours go by, and like I see a little uptick, and I'm like, yeah. And I just redeploy. So I'm basically just donating a couple of fees to like Coinbase. It's pretty stupid. It's pretty stupid. But everybody does it, I'm sure. Maybe the people that don't do it are more profitable than I am. So I'm going to cope and say everybody does it. Guys, don't forget to smash the like button. I appreciate you guys for being here. Bitcoin dominance. Ooh. Was not expecting that. That kind of sucks. We had some wicks and then a pop to the upside. Back above 59.5. Are we going to break 60? So this one resulted in another attempt. Maybe this getting back above is going to result in a failure that sends us lower. I don't know. Tom Selleck Scout said, one of us, one of us. Gourmet said, weird about Warsh is that he was always a high interest rate guy, hawkish. Yeah, he likes high interest rates, and he does not like quantitative easing, which really sucks. And he is very anti. No, he's anti QE, and he freaks out over the littlest, like 1 point. I think he said 1.7% inflation was too much. He was like, we can't sustain this. There's going to be a collapse. Tisha said, yo, it is that time. It is. That is true. That is true indeed. Lunar Entity said he recently did an interview where he talked about shrinking the balance sheet back down to under 2 trillion. Yeah, we don't like that. Not a fan. Not a fan of that. I would like them to print money and just put it directly into my pocket. That's my preferred Fed share, please. Bitcoin 84,150. Looking good. We got some sustainability here. We're holding well above 80. We bounced off of what seems like 82,160. Actually, that's a liquidation point, so there's really no point of confluence here. The nearest one's 78. 80 is obviously going to be psychological level. It looks like, I suppose, what is that, 82.50? 82,715? I don't know. We held some kind of support level above 82K. I'm just going to call it 82K. And we're sitting at 84 right now. Can we reclaim 85? That's probably going to be the next area of resistance from a psychological standpoint. Tisha said to call you out again. What do you got for me? Oh, looking for 58? What did I say here? Hold on. I got to mute myself so that we can listen to this. I've already guessed that I think gold is going to 58. 58 is my target for gold, and it might actually get there. Oh my god, imagine if that got there right on time, like February 12th. You know how freaking badass I would feel? It's never going to happen, but that would be sick. Silver, on the other hand. My crazy guess for silver's next top is $145. I don't understand. Where's the call out? All I see here is a healthy pullback. First of all, let me approach this very seriously. First of all, gold basically hit 58. What is that, a $200 difference? I'm calling that a win. So I'm going to claim that victory right now. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that it's not done. We got a lot of uncertainty. I could see this grind up slowly, very slowly. Fractal is still intact, if you will. It might have topped. Jokes aside, it might have actually topped. Like, that might have been the top. I have no idea. There is plenty of uncertainty. I don't know. Apparently, the United Nations is going to collapse or something, which is weird. What is that, like a Girl Scouts club? Is there any actual, like, ramifications that come from that? Repercussions? Silver, on the other hand, my crazy guess for silver's next top 145, again, that is also still in play. I don't know if silver's going to go down. I did talk about the other day, though, how institutions, maybe not institutions, maybe that's not the right word, Silicon Valley cannot afford for silver to be this high for this long. They can't. They just can't do it. They are either going to have to charge a ridiculously larger amount of money for their products, which people are not going to be willing to pay, or they're going to have to force the price of silver to go down. I also think Silicon Valley is probably controls the entire planet. If we're being completely real, everyone's way too dependent on their technology. So it would not surprise me at all if they figure out a way somehow to crash the price of silver. I don't know, just throwing those out there. But yeah, I'm still in the boat for 145 top if we do continue up there. But I also said that 77 was going to be the top back here. Once we got past that and started blasting off, 145 was my next pick. Definitely far off from that. So far, Saeed has 1,000% absolutely nailed it with his call of 115. So Saeed, if you're here or if you're not here, absolute freaking legend. Pretty awesome. I've been talking about this nonstop. Like I mentioned it to my boss again today. I told my fiance when we were driving to the theater, I was like, there's just a viewer that said 115, and we basically hit 115 and exploded to the downside. And I made a little lucrative little short off of that, which is pretty cool. Gourmet Brand said they say that he's going to reprice the U.S. gold, which is at 1.2 trillion now. But they said he can revalue it at 4 trillion. Lunar Entity said, never thought I'd relive the 70s as an old man. I don't necessarily think the market will chop sideways for a decade, but we'll see. Tom Selleck said it's like he's trying to lose the midterms right now, but I'm thinking, like you said the other day, need to cool things off a bit, make them right before midterms. Yeah, I think that he's like, things are getting too hot too fast, so everything takes a big poop. And then leading into, let's say midterms are right here, just hypothetically, everything goes really, really good. And oh my gosh, bam, he's way up here. And he's like, look how great the market's been leading up to midterms. When in reality, you're only like 20% higher than you were way back here. But if you go from the bottom, he can be like, oh, in the last arbitrary number, 6 months, in the last 4 months, silver's up 72%. Or, maybe not for silver specifically, but like the stock market, That's what he did when he first got into office, too. As soon as he got in, I don't remember what it was, but he did something, he said something, and everything took a massive dump. I remember everyone was freaking out about it, and I'm like, this is what Trump's going to do. He's going to step in, he's going to do that, and then he's going to be like, look what Biden did. He's going to set the house on fire, and then he's going to run up to the news anchor from behind the house, and he's going to be like, look at the house is burning down. Joe Biden just lit that house on fire. I'm going to put it out. Watch this. He's literally Syndrome from The Incredibles, where he like creates the problem and then he fixes it, and he's like, see what I did? That other guy that I don't like did that, and I fixed it. You see? You just watched me fix it, right? You didn't see who did it, but I told you it was the other guy. And you have to believe me, because why would I start the fire and then put it out? That's weird. What are you, crazy? I definitely didn't do that with this gasoline that I have in my hand. Yeah, that's my estimate. Tishu said gold maybe, but silver nah. Tom Selleck said healthy pullback for gold. It will get there soon enough. I think silver is effed. Is silver really... Silver, I think, is more utilitarian than gold is, for sure. Lunar Entity said, a lot of people think huge net long positions in silver are betting on the inability for COMEX to make deliveries mid-year. Tom Selleck said, look at that chart. It's so wild. Yeah, this is actually insane. Gourmet said, this is my Bitcoin bottom line, 71K. What is my Bitcoin? I want to move it up to 74.5. All right, let's go see, actually. Gourmet Brands is at 71K. He said 74.5. Okay. Where's mine? Oh, I have one at 75. Okay, well, I'm actually calling for 70K. This is crypto winter bottom, so I'm going to put bear market bottom, 70K. If it gets really, really bad, which is probably going to go way past this, JJ's bear market bottom target guess. And I'm also going to say October, because that's when we're supposed to bottom if we're in a true 12-month long bear market, whatever. So far, Tishu is the winner, because it went past Justin Makachek's, and we bounced right off of the lowest we got was like 80,700, and Tishu's at 79. He is closest without going over. Lunar Entity said, when everyone is orange, no one will be. Yeah, exactly. Tom Selleck Scout said 80K was the bottom. Get wrecked, losers. That would be so funny. That would be pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie. I did just deploy a lot of capital. I think while I was at the theater, actually. Maybe it was before I left work. I don't know. I loaded up like a sociopath. I felt psycho doing it too. I was like, boop, boop, boop. And then when I was done, I was like, what have I done? I was like sweating. Okay, we're getting distracted. ETH down 0.28%, currently trading at 26.99 and 76 cents. Bitcoin recovering while ETH is taking a big fat dookie is quite interesting. Not really, with Bitcoin dominance going down, but with the price going down, I suppose, and the RSI really just trading sideways, that is interesting. Are we going to see some semblance of divergence soon? Or, I mean, technically, I think I pointed this out yesterday. Once we get a reaction, we will have bullish div. If not there, then at least right here. So if the price starts to increase with the RSI relatively close to where it's at, then we will have bullish divergence. But unfortunately, that bullish divergence just calls for a short-term pump with a longer-term downtrend still remaining intact and the RSI climbing up. We'll see what happens. We got a green dot on the momentum wave, negative money flow. RSI is oversold technically on the 4-hour. So let's see what comes of that. Solana recovering better than Ethereum is actually. It's up 0.6%. I want to talk about, Lunar Entity said Bitcoin murdered its short-term holders at 94K. ETH spared its short-term holders, most of which are at 2,500. My favorite thing in the world is the fact that Ethereum has maintained the same exact price level for like 8 years. Like if you average it out, it's probably right around like 2,500 to 3K, which is kind of hilarious. Tisha said there are so many possibilities. Bitcoin could go to 100K one more time before the real bear market starts and we go to 30 to 40K. That's my best guess, and it is just that. Well, my brain shut off halfway through that apparently. I don't know why that happens. I just randomly, my brain is like, well, you can't read now. I'm like, ETH 26.98. I'm really curious about this. Are we coming down to 25? Like we clearly lost that trend line. So this is an officially established bear flag, I think. And we broke below, retested, rejected, continuation to the downside. Can we form something bullish for ETH? Or is it just going to continue to be miserable, choppy sideways nonsense? Let's see. Okay, so right here, let's try to put something together here. We got a little downtrend, our little chop. I'm going to call this a little downtrend, little chop, and then decrease, and then we finally climbed out of it. Are we going to have a decrease, finally climb out of it? See, what sucks about this too is it could still technically be really long-term bullish. And this goes along with the extended cycle diminishing return theory. If everything just takes really, really long to correct and then climb out, gosh, this chart is so messy. How do you guys take me seriously at all? There are way too many lines on these charts. I might have to just delete everything off of these charts soon. Are we okay with that? I'm going to do a poll. Not for that. I'm going to do a poll for something completely different. But look at Solana while I do this. Start poll. We got 4 options right here. I think I asked you guys the same question yesterday. All right, and this one's fine. All right, where is the safe haven money going next? You guys got Bitcoin, US dollar, buying gold forever, or under the mattress? Okay. Let's see. Tom Self-Scout said, nope, let me go back a little bit further. Gourmet Brand said, I think we'll peak in late July, August, and then dip and then test highs right before midterms. Tom Self-Scout said, we better, or Tom Lee's going to jail. Dude, I think there's a Polymarket bet now about Tom Lee fleeing the country, which I thought was odd. I'm like, why would he flee the country? um, Lunar Entity said, I like Ethereum's chart far more than 99% of alts, especially with a stable yield. Teacher said, but one thing I know for sure, every time you get cocky with your calls, I'm going to call you out and have fun. If you're okay with that, absolutely not. I'm never okay with anybody ever poking fun at me because I am a genius and I'm never wrong. So, you watch your mouth. No, we don't take ourselves serious. We're doing technical analysis on meme coins. What kind of channel do you think this is? Lunar Entity said the S&P 500 took 13 years to return to price discovery. The Nasdaq took 16 years to return to price discovery. Oh God, are you telling me Bitcoin's gonna take longer? That would suck. I've been thinking about it. I'm like, man, what if we actually like went through a 2008 or a .com bubble? You know how shitty that would be? Because Bitcoin would undoubtedly go to like 0. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking wrong, but damn, I think Satoshi's vision got wrecked when people started buying Bitcoin for money. We got a confirmed green dot on Market Cipher for Solana, which is cool. That happened. Actually, that hasn't happened in quite some time. Last time it happened was right here, and that resulted in a big, huge spike to the upside. Is Solana about to blast off? Should we long Solana? Wasn't I just talking shit saying it was going to go to $100? We do also have a bullish cross over the moving average on the RSI with a seemingly confirmation of support. Yeah, Solana might spike up. Let's see if Solana tries the trend line again at like 126-ish. We'll see what happens. I do like it though. It looks pretty good. Total 3 lingering at 805.58. We're kind of holding 800 billion. I really want to hold 800 billion. This is my bounce guess, and we've hit it so far. We hit it right here, and it was perfect. And we're hitting it again this time with a little more oomph. Instead of just like 1, 2, 3 candles, we got like 5 or 6 now. I would love to see a recovery out of this. We do have a confirmed green dot here as well. So last time when we bottomed out, we got 2 confirmed green dots on Market Cipher. This time we're kind of trying to bottom out. We have 1, plenty of room for upside on the RSI and the momentum wave on Market Cipher. The October 10th wick. Where did I get that from? Okay. Oh, is it this? No, that's February of 2025. Did I fudge the October 10th wick? I remember looking at it, though. Am I crazy? No, it goes down there. How would that change? So, check this out. This is weird. It's a little concerning. The wick on October 10th clearly shows a low of 766.8 billion. But then when I go to the 4-hour time frame, that wick only goes... Is this how fast that happened? That wick stops at... What is that? Right there. 827.52. That's so weird. He said, yo, no sound? Nuh-uh. Don't do that to me. Alright, Lunar Entity said, one guy said 85, he might be right. I asked people around 110 on silver where they thought fair value was. They called me stupid and said 150 was happening this week. People think S&P is good buy long term, which it is, but people overlook NASDAQ, which gets better returns year over year. Let's actually ask Grok that. What is the average annual return for the NASDAQ? Because we know the S&P is like 11.2, I think, or 11.4. Reese said no sound again. Reese, I got sound. Tom Salkscoat said that's because NASDAQ is super tech heavy and tech has killed it for the last 20 years. That's totally true. Gourmet said pawn shops in New York, New Jersey are not buying scrap silver, only gold. Scrap? Okay, so just like rogue jewelry? Interesting. All right. 805.31 billion. Total 3. ADA is lost 32.71. We're sitting at 31.92. Let's see if 30 holds next. I'm going to just put a line at 30 for psychological support. 3, Nope. 0.3. Apparently you have to type the 0. Lunar Entity said most asset managers are projecting flat or negative returns over a 10-year horizon on major indices. All right. Snack down 2.16%, currently trading at 0.00057. I don't know where this is going. If it loses 6, I have no clue where it's going to go. Like, legit. No idea. That RSI is crazy oversold. If we are entering a crazy bear market, though, it's going to get spicy, guys. XRP still riding that upper trend line at $1.74. We lost 184. We are still trying right here, though. I don't know. We're in a really interesting spot. I've asked Gronk 1,000 times. Gronk thinks that 2026 is still going to be bullish for crypto. We got a confirmed green dot on market separate right here, so let's see what happens. A lot can happen. We're in the first month still of the year. And, you know, just 3 months ago, in October, Bitcoin was 126K. So it's not crazy to think that we can recover out of this. It's also not crazy to think that we are in a prolonged 12-month long bear market. So there's definitely options for sure. Avalanche flatlining right around 1085. I guess, I mean, it's trying for 11. It's really underneath it right now, though. I don't see how Lunar, unless AI is a major fail. That's my concern right now with AI and, like, specifically OpenAI being a little funky and then being, like, the top player. Apparently, there's, like, some falling out happening between OpenAI and NVIDIA when it comes to a deal or something like that. I don't know. I told you guys I don't like that guy. OpenAI, I think, is the biggest risk right now to the rally. And them doing what they're doing, and they're like, we're not going to be profitable for a couple of years, whatever. That's totally fine. That's very normal. But then them being like, we're going to start doing ads now because we need money right now. That's very concerning. Silver pumping, obviously, is going to increase the cost of certain things. And I feel like the infrastructure is not there at all. The acceleration, the growth rate of this technology from a software standpoint is great. That's all great and good and whatever. The hardware standpoint, though, we do not have the technology to keep up with that. The demand, it's ridiculous. And then no one knows how to implement any of this stuff. So it's just kind of silly. They're in just like full R&D mode, boots on the ground. Let's research the shit out of this and figure out every single thing that we can do with this. And then they're going to be done. They're going to be like, okay, how do we implement this? And the finance guy is going to be like, sir, we don't have any more money to implement this. All of our R&D was put towards like software development, not implementation. And we don't have any more money or personnel to figure this out. And it's going to fall apart. It's crazy. You are 100% correct on OpenAI threatening the entire market. It's spooky, man. It's spooky. Lunar Entity said LLMs are a dead end for AGI. Huge sticking point. It's just, I don't see the value much farther than what we have today. And there's been like, I don't know. I feel like the growth curve was like really cool, really fun. And that went like this. And now we're reaching that plateau. We're reaching this point where AI is just really, really good. And everyone's like, cool. But like nobody really gives a shit. Because no one's going to go watch a full AI Hollywood movie. No one's going to make a full AI Hollywood movie. And even if they do, what does that matter? How much did it cost to actually make that? Hardware, software wise, it seems kind of silly to me right now. Like I said, the implementation is very sloppy. So I need to see progress on that front for sure. Chainlink down 0.56%, currently trading at 1074. We want to see $10 hold if it does lose 1067. Volume looks good. It's oversold. We got a confirmed green dot on Chainlink, not Avalanche though. Avalanche does not have one. So we'll see what happens. Gold, $4,895.11. Huge wick. This wick is insane. Obviously, there's a bunch of wicks to the downside, indicative of some serious buying pressure. Personally, I don't know if it's going to recover from here. It might go a little bit lower just to spook some people. But we've seen this before. Literally saw this back here. The fractal is this entire move. So if we look at our fractal, I can actually stretch it some more. So what I did with the fractal is I shrunk it down because the move should be smaller anyways. But let me, I guess, do one of these. I'll stretch it some more to fit better. Yeah, let's see if we end up bouncing from here. Actually, this fits really, really weirdly well. If we end up bouncing from here, reject a couple of times, and then we slowly climb up, get back below it. That way, a lot of people get liquidated. They think, you know, they make the bet in the wrong direction, and then we eventually continue higher. And maybe, who knows, maybe we do reach 7K. I think that would be insane, but I also thought that my 5,800 prediction a couple of weeks ago was insane. I thought that this was crazy. I remember putting this on a chart and like thinking to myself, this is stupid. Gold is never going to get this high. And it's touched $5,600. That's crazy. Never thought that that would happen. Now the RSI is nice and reset, and it's sitting at 48.95. When it first touched 48.95, it was literally overbought. Look at this. Overbought. 48.95. Overbought. So ridiculously overbought. And now it's at the same price, and the RSI is sitting at freaking 30. It's almost oversold. That is how you do a correction. I don't know what happened. The market makers, crypto was their playground, and they moved to gold and silver. They're like, now let's really shake things up. We're going to make gold and silver $100,000. I don't know. It's just, it's cool to see. Lunar said, it doesn't help that OpenAI is holding 15% of every single partner company. I see huge value in LLMs being deployed on chain. Financial institutions are actively pursuing this outcome. See, that's implementation. That's what we need to see. The reason why Meta exploded in value after their earnings and whatever is because they deployed AI for their marketing, for their advertising services, and it's working incredibly well. I think their advertising income increased like 30% or some ridiculous, maybe just the amount of advertising that they're doing. People are paying for Facebook ads because it's more lucrative with the AI, like assistant. I gotta say, like I've ran some ads on my videos and stuff, on some of my published videos on YouTube. It's kind of a pain in the ass. It's very intimidating trying to like figure out what to do. So I've actually hired people on Fiverr to do it for me. If I could just have an AI agent do that, pay the AI agent the same amount of money and get a little bit more result, I would do that. Maybe. Actually, I like it. I like employing the person. But institutions would for sure do that. Big businesses, they don't want to pay people. Agents who assist you with work is where we will be for a bit, for sure. Lunar Entity said Citi is banking on that exact outcome, but as part of their customer services. Blockchain is the bridge. They want to facilitate this. AI is the bridge into the blockchain framework. No coincidence, both narratives seemingly ran together. Until they didn't. Silver, down 26.33%. I had a short at, I think, 113. And I closed it. Lucrative. It was only $10. It was a gamble. So I made a little bit of money. And I now have a long at 82.48 that I'm going to slowly ladder into over time if the price decreases more. If it increases, then I'm just going to ride what I have. Seeing this thing below $100 again, kind of crazy. But, you know, well, this was 20 days ago that we saw this. So it's not even that big of a deal. 20 days ago that we saw this level. Who cares? People are tweaking. They're like, oh my gosh, silver lost so much money. It's manipulation. It's not manipulation. We got supply and demand, and then eventually you reached a point where there were more sellers or more silver being sold than buyers at these prices. It's not that hard. If it works one way, it's going to work the opposite as well. Eventually. People get a little spooked. The price goes up so fast, they're not going to buy at those levels. Lunar Entity said, AI, yep, I read that. I think it's extremely healthy that such an extreme amount of long-term holders exited last year. Tom Selleck-Scott said, we will decide to say hello to Iran this weekend, and gold will go right back up. That is true, and I'm hoping that tomorrow being Saturday, the leader of Iran steps down and does not die, because if he dies, then my Kalshi bet is void, and I lose. But if he's removed or he steps down and he lives, then I win a bunch of money. So, now if that happens on Sunday, I'm going to be a little bit upset. But we'll see, man. We'll see. Silver, Pretty crazy. DXY. Ooh, 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 ooh. I'm excited. There is a partial government shutdown Saturday and Sunday, technically. Uh, on Tuesday? Yes, on Tuesday, February. Nope, I lied. On Monday, February 2nd. The 2 threw me off. My brain was like, 2 is Tuesday. That's not true. February 2nd is on a Monday. Just because it's the second day of the month does not mean that it's Tuesday. Remember that. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. Monday, February 2nd, is when we get the next ISM manufacturers price index, whatever it's called, the freaking business cycle print. If it's over 50, I don't know, number go up, allegedly. Mr. Roberts said, stash is still the best part of my week, lol. Stash. S-T-A-C-H-E, stash, like your mustache? I'm confused. Tom Selleck's goat. Oh, Mr. Roberts said, hey, JJ Derringer, that's stash. Okay, I understand. I got the context now. Groundhog Day. PMI. Yes, ISM PMI. Manufacturers. It's price management index or price... what is it called? Purchasing Managers Index. Where did I get price from? ISM Purchasing Managers Index. I told you guys it wasn't price. DXY. This is huge. Big news. Breaking. You guys heard it here first. I don't know why no one's talking about this. The DXY, before the weekly close on Sunday, mind you, has officially re-entered above its 15-year-old trend line that goes back to April 2011. The 15-year-old DXY trend line is now intact on the weekly time frame and has only been breached via a wick to the downside. First time in history that it's broken below this trend line since 2011. 2011 it was established. 2021 we continued to ride it up. 2026 we officially broke below it after riding it for most of 2025 right here. We had a failed test to get back above this lower trend line. Support turned resistance, and that rejection led to the price breaking below that 15-year-old trend line. Big, huge deal. But getting above it before the weekly close is definitely in the DXY's best interest from a technical analyst point of view. This also, I would have told you, was a bear flag. And I've always pointed out that every time there's anything on crypto, at least, when there's a bearish pattern and it invalidates hard, like with vengeance. And that is exactly what's happening here. We're seeing a pretty hefty pump on the DXY out of this bear flag back above this 15-year-old trend line. So we want to keep an eye on that. And I don't know. Do we want the dollar to lose value? I don't know. I guess the biggest challenge is if there is no inflation and there is no, dollar value being lost. Let's say you have a strong dollar. People like having savings accounts. The dollar's strong. Whatever. How do you make money with investments then? That might be the biggest trick in the book, is like actually making money with investments without relying on, oh, dollar go down, so my investment go up. Because that's kind of a cheat code. So we might have to actually become investors. Everyone's like, what the hell? MicroStrategy, aka Big B Coffee, had a big, fat, beautiful latte of a day. We got a nice bounce off of looks like 140 and are currently sitting at 149.60. Vanguard purchased some Big B Coffee, some MicroStrategy, the other day when we had this big fat gap for the first time in history. So they know for some reason that they want to buy some strategy. They saw a value proposition at 160, 165, whatever, and loaded up. Now we're below that, but big institution like Vanguard can afford to wait a little while the price chops down and, finally bottoms out and eventually pumps. I still think that that's worth pointing out because Vanguard and strategy, I don't know, Vanguard probably worth paying attention to. Lunar Entity said the bottom 70% of the economy have been crushed for 2 decades. Let them breathe. Right, that's what I mean. Like, I want to sit here and be like, oh, we don't want the DXY to go up because we want our assets to pump, but if that's the only reason why our assets pump, then that's probably not a great investment. Like, I understand it's an easy way out. So it's cool if the DXY dumps. We're safe. That's why we invest. But if it pumps, or if it just stabilizes, whatever, then we can still afford groceries and stuff. We're not running from inflation. It's just calm, good time. We can enjoy ourselves. We can invest in value versus just like a inflation hedge. It's Kwame said, "What's going on, JJ? It's been brutal out here. It for sure has. What's going on, Kwame? Cheers." Lunar Entity said, "The last time real wages meaningfully moved against financial markets was 2009. That's horrific." Yeah, it's pretty crazy. NASDAQ down 1.29% on the day. It is perfectly like snugged in little spoon on our fractal, our hand-drawn fractal, which is basically just a copy paste of the existing fractal on a little more of a tone down without me adjusting the fractal. I don't like adjusting my fractals. I like to put them in place. That way when it's all run through, whether or not it played out, we can see the data and see like, oh, it was really close, or oh, it wasn't close at all. It failed right at the end. We have data that we can base everything off of and learn from. Versus me just trying to move the goalposts every time and then at the end being like, look at how right I was, because I adjusted it 40 times up until 24 hours before it was filled. I'd rather learn. We are at 25,519.1. I don't know if I'm looking for a bounce right away come Monday. I wouldn't mind a chop until, what is that, literally Tuesday? Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we'll see what the middle of the week looks like. I'm excited to see if it plays out. This is probably the most excited I've been for a fractal on the stock market in a while. Lunar Entity said, what I'm watching is a market environment like S&P from 69 to 80. Well, let's take a look at that. We got the S&P right here. Fractal not really looking that great. There's adjustments that could be made, but I'm not going to. I'm going to wait. If we recouple, whatever, even if we do one of these, then I'm going to call it a win still. But as of right now, it's looking a little sloppy. We're at 69.39. Very nice. As long as we stay above 68.65, I'll be happy. That was the open on Tuesday, January 20th. Why is that relevant? That is relevant from why? This? That's not the open on Tuesday, January. Is that a daily thing? See, why do these charts look different depending on the time frame? Yeah, that is. What the heck? I don't know. There's big discrepancies I'm noticing between the 4-hour time frame and the daily time frame. But 69.39. Let's see what Monday brings. We want to go to 1969 to 1980 to see what Lunar Entity is referencing. So let me go to the weekly. Zoom way out. 1969 to 1980. 55, 67. Okay. Let me get some vertical lines here. We've got 1980 right there, basically the end of 1980. And then 1969. I'll go to the beginning. Oh, 68. And January 69. All right. So, Lunar Entity. Sideways? That sucks. What I'm watching for is a market environment like SPX from 69 to 80. So yeah, that's just like kind of choppy. And then eventual grind up. 69, 77. That's like a 11-year range. That'd be crazy. Tom Selleck's go. Okay, Lunar Entity said incredible period to load up on assets as they trended in a range. Yeah. Oh yeah. Look at that volume increase. Just going into, what is this? 98? That's going into the dot-com bubble. Whew. Whoa. Yeah, this is, you know what sucks the worst, I think, is this right here. Going from 96 to 2009. Who fumbled the dot-com bubble so bad that we had a repeat just like 6 to 8 years later? Like, whose fault was that? I would be so pissed off. Are you kidding me? Having to witness that twice? Oh my gosh. I would never invest again. And then, of course, it climbed right out of that. That's insane. Tom Selleck's Goat said, think this is my favorite fractal you've ever done. Lost decade. Right. All right. You think the S&P or the NASDAQ? I think the S&P ass fractal, original ass fractal, is what coined me the fractal Farquad, if you will. Was that it? I mean, we got so many of them now. It's quite a mess, isn't it? This is a good one, though, for sure. I think the NASDAQ is the closest. All right, Bitcoin dominance 59.72. Let's get into some news. Lunar Entity said yes, but people that hoarded assets were met with the greatest 2 decades of returns in history. That's true. Giovanni said, tired booze me. Same. Bitcoin 84.56 and 85 cents. Let's see what Grok said. Unable to reply. What? I can't even select the option. Is Grok actually broken? Oh, okay. 10-year period, recent 10-year period, 15 to 16% annualized. Okay, very nice. Since February 1971, volatility and recoveries, NASDAQ 100, 13 to 14 annualized since 1985, 16 to 20 in recent decades. Okay, so yeah, it is much higher. That's crazy. You get like 50% more return. All right. Giovanni said, yep, I read that. Tom Selleck said NASDAQ is what I'm talking about for fractal. Yeah, the NASDAQ fractal looks nice. That is a good one for sure. The S&P, we've had better S&P fractals. Obviously, we're on like the trilogy. The last movie in the trilogy is usually never that great, so give me a break. All right. This one was interesting. JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon told Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, you are full of shit, after Armstrong accused banks of blocking crypto-friendly legislation. The bankers are getting mad. This is hilarious because Coinbase is essentially the JP Morgan of crypto. And if they get their way, they're probably going to take over the entire banking sector. Because I know I really thoroughly enjoy my Coinbase card. And if Coinbase was more regulated like a bank, I might even get my paycheck there. I would be totally okay with that. Chicken said, I think Bank of America or Citigroup may be the big bank in trouble. Oh, I heard it was a small Chicago bank. Mr. Roberts said, I remember my dad noted the 2008 GFC before I was aware of markets. I have no idea how he held his shit together and didn't just start kicking puppies. LOL, cat fight. Dude, this is, and honestly, bald versus hair, kind of epic. I'm not gonna lie. White hair, very villainous. Like, stark bald as well. Very villainous. I think it'd make a good Marvel movie. Dare I even say DC movie. I'm just saying. Lunar Entity said the bankers do not want unrestricted access to yield. That tells you how powerful just 4% in stable return is to these people. You know what's funny is you can get that right now on Coinbase anyway. So Jamie Dimon's like, what? What? Tom Code said, yeah, a bank failed, but it's got like 200 million in assets. It's nothing, but still, it is a failing bank. Just saying. Inflation's ticking up. Employment's ticking down. Good call for rate cuts. Good call for an emergency rate cut. Do we think, here's another, I'm going to do another poll. And poll, do we have a tie? What? I said, where is safe haven money going next? We got a tie between Bitcoin and the US dollar. Wow, we got 8 votes. Guys, don't forget to smash the like button. I appreciate you guys for being here. We also got 24% for under the mattress. Nobody's buying gold forever, apparently. That's kind of sad. Literally 0%. That actually upsets me a little bit. Here's my question. Do you think Powell will cut before he leaves? Yes or no? Because we do have some data today that might argue, why must Brian Armstrong look like Voldemort? I think the more powerful he becomes, the more Voldemort-like he looks. Like, eventually, when all of this gets approved and he gets his way, he will have no nose. And walk around barefoot in black robes. The black does not help either. He literally does look like Voldemort with, like, little hillbilly ears. It's kind of cute. Forget gold and silver. Sell everything and invest in manufacturing actuators. This guy in this video, and I don't know how accurate this is. It makes sense in my brain. Basically explains that in every single robot, there's about 48 actuators or 72 actuators required in order for them to have the full range of motion that a human has, and it makes sense. So if you guys are interested, go listen to the video. It's a good flick for sure. Apparently, the United Nations is at risk of an imminent financial collapse, allegedly because the U.S. exited or something like that. I don't know. This one was weird to me because it's not like all of those countries are about to collapse. It's just like the entity of the United Nations. So is there like book club? Like is the HOA low on funds? What's happening here? Why do we care? Giovanni said, every single person I know still thinks Bitcoin is a scam and doesn't understand it. So much potential to run at only a 3 trillion market cap. Yeah, for sure. I do like it dying again. Every time Bitcoin dies, I make a lot of money. Not from it dying, from the recovery, the post-death recovery. Breaking news, Metropolitan Capital Bank and Trust has collapsed, with First Independence Bank assuming control of its operations. That spooks me a little bit, I'm not going to lie. Gourmet Brand said the banks better figure out this yield issue for the Clarity Act, because if they push it after midterms, we might lose some seats and it will take a lot longer to pass. That's what Charles actually said. He said if it doesn't pass, I think during the last vote, that it's probably going to have to wait until like 2029 or whenever the next election is. I don't remember what he said. Giovanni said it's going to end up being young adults who invest in Bitcoin, not millennials. All the kids now will grow up believing it's a better bet. Oh, 100%. Even gold just now. If you had been buying gold like your entire life, the return, in my opinion, obviously from a safe like risk reward, the return is amazing. But if you're just looking at it from a pure profit standpoint, if I was buying this since October 2022, right now you would be up 190%. That's great, actually. That's really good. 190% is amazing. Now, Bitcoin, what is that? Did I already do this? Damn, okay. What did I measure from? October 2022. Bitcoin from October 2022. Oh, shit. I picked the perfect date on accident. Where is it? October 2022, right here. If you would have bought Bitcoin October 2022, you'd be up 326%. So, personally, it just makes more sense. Plus, when I want to sell my Bitcoin, I just have to click a couple buttons. When you want to sell your gold, you got to do a lot more than that. And then you're also at risk of them being like, well, we don't have any refineries right now, and this is what we consider scrap gold. So we're not interested, thank you. And then you're fucked, you know? That sucks. I don't want to be in that position. I like my cash liquid. I like my cash, not cash, I like my cash Bitcoin. Or really shitty altcoins and meme coins. I like to be able to push a button and have money immediately. As soon as I press the button, I can spend it. It's so nice. It is so freaking nice. And I feel like people who invest traditionally don't know anything about this. It is so nice to be able to go somewhere and be like, if I have any kind of emergency spending or anything like that, I can just press a couple buttons on my phone and suddenly have way more money than I had before at my disposal. That is so nice, just knowing that. I can go to another country and I have a financial emergency. I don't have to call my wife and be like, I need you to go try and sell the gold, and then like, what is it, automatic clearinghouse, or mail a freaking check. Like, that's so much already. That's so much bullshit. And then we gotta pay Western Union $20 or whatever. Instead, I can just be like, boop boop, my Bitcoin liquidated, I have money, here we go. It just makes more sense to me. from a 2026 standpoint. Lunar Entity said, the people desperate for legislation to be speedily passed are the same ones begging for supercycle. Yeah, the Clarity Act is cool, but it does actually literally 1000% go against Satoshi's dream. And what else are we here for, if not freedom? Like, I don't want to be gay, but I'm not. If I just want an investment, then I'm just going to buy all this other shit. I'm already buying all this other shit. I would like my Bitcoin without a side of government oversight. You know what I mean? I'm okay with them regulating it for safety reasons, but I don't need it. You know, I'm not trying to beg Uncle Sam to pump my bags at this point. Mr. Roberts said, I think Powell will do one cut, and as unpopular as the feller is right now, he is literally delivering a soft landing. I want to slag him, but I can't. Oh, 100%. I mean, it's up in the air. Did he take too long to cut? Whatever. Who knows? We are not in the middle of a recession right now. That's the bottom baseline. There's obviously some nitpicky things that we can point out and not like, but that's whatever. We are not in a recession. I personally am not homeless, so everyone, all parties involved, great job. Thank you. Xavier said, just wondering, I thought circuit breakers get triggered on 10% moves for silver and gold. That is not true. So with CME, there are no things in place for that specifically. And I guess in order, so I'm not talking out of my ass, let me ask Grok specifically, because I saw somebody post about that earlier as well. Does the, what do I say, stock exchange have a circuit breaker rule in place for silver and gold, or no? Because a lot of people were asking that earlier as well, and apparently that's not true for silver and gold, or if it is, it's based on like certain time frames and stuff like that. But I don't think silver and gold apply. I think it's different. Implements dynamic, yeah, dynamic circuit breakers. That's what it is. It's dynamic, so it's a little bit different from what we're used to. That's a good question, Xavier. Thank you. Lunar Entity said, I would never utilize gold in the same way as Bitcoin. That's a fool's gambit. You would logically have both. Right. Mr. Roberts said, I hold both Bitcoin and gold. That's diversity, man. Diversity is literally, like, I can preach all day, and you can be a maxi, that's fine. But diversity is your best friend. It really is. You cannot go wrong with diversity. Giovanni said, agreed, actually. Xavier said, oh, okay. Gold and silver are not securities, Lunar Entity said. The core devs will probably beat any legislation to that point at this rate. How long is this going to take? Grok, come on. Chop, chop. There we go. No, traditional stock exchanges do not have circuit breaker rules specifically for gold and silver because these exchanges primarily trade equities and ETFs, not physical precious metals or their futures contracts directly. In summary, while stock exchanges themselves don't have circuit breakers targeted at silver or gold as commodities, the primary trading venue, CME COMEX, does use dynamic ones for futures, and related ETFs follow stock market volatility controls. So, bottom line, no. No, there's not. I did see a lot of people talking about that today, though. That is an excellent question to bring up. So, yeah, United Nations, risk of imminent financial collapse. Kind of made me giggle a little bit. This one cracked me up. Gold and silver down 20 to 30% in the last 24 hours. Crypto, one of us. $770 million worth of crypto longs liquidated in the past 30 minutes. President Trump officially selects Kevin Warsh as new Federal Reserve Chair. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again today. Anyone with big, thick, beautiful hair like this, as a bald man, I am legally obligated to say I don't trust them. Hassett, I love because he has a effed up hairline like me. Gosh, why is Trump so orange here? That's crazy. President Trump says he passed on appointing Kevin Hassett as Fed chair because he didn't want to let him go from his administration. Kevin is indescribably good. What excellent praise. That's what you want at a job, man. Michael Saylor says Kevin Warsh will soon become the first pro-Bitcoin chair of the Federal Reserve. What a legend. Xavier said, what are your thoughts on the future of gold, silver, and Bitcoin? I mean, I love all of them, honestly. I think silver I don't think silver can sustain these prices for a long time. I do think it has a chance at recovering here. I think that this was a harsh sell-off for sure, and maybe necessary because it did blast off as soon as it broke above 100. It got pretty high, but it might not. That might have been the top. Silver is necessary for technology, so it's in Silicon Valley's best interest for this to not be above $100. Otherwise, they have to increase their prices exponentially, and they don't want to do that because they want to be able to sell their products to you and to me. And I don't want to pay, 150% more for my stupid MacBook or my RAM. So if they can at least help that a little bit by crashing silver, they're probably going to do that. The other thing, the physical mints also need the price to go down so that they can restock. Whatever. Gold, I think gold is a great long-term bet. My target is still 5,800. It went up to 56. That's long-term. It might be topped out for now. When gold moves, it moves slowly. So this fast move is very surprising and unprecedented. That's why everyone's kind of tweaking out about it. I would not be surprised if this cools off and then trades sideways for at least, what is this, 2020 to 2020, another couple years. But it might just continue to go crazy. I have no clue. Just throwing out guesses based on feel. We have never witnessed anything like this in history before, so no one really knows what's going to happen. I'm just throwing out ideas based on what I see in the charts. Bitcoin, I think Bitcoin's a no-brainer. Historically, Bitcoin outperforms everything. If you just go to the higher time frames on a Bitcoin chart, pick any Bitcoin chart, go on higher time frame and zoom way the hell out. This is up only. Exponential growth. Now, are we eventually maybe going to have some kind of recessionary something and, we get a pullback that's pretty huge and really shitty because it takes a really, really long time to play out? Probably. But at the end of the day, from bottom left to the right, the price will continue to go up. That's just my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. And it's literally only based on 6 years experience, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I'm a Bitcoin guy. I like the liquidity. We did need a correction, but I did not expect a flash crash like that for sure. Yeah, that was pretty crazy, honestly. Crypto Spaces said, "Oh wow, I'm late." I am also late, Crypto Spaces. Giovanni said, "If precious metals could chill out, that'd be great." Lunar Entity said, "Once again, Warsh is almost a godsend for the bottom 70% of the economy, the people who work for a living and don't hold assets." Right. Gourmet said, "Futures is volatile." Crypto Spaces said, "People said silver dumped like a meme coin." It did, dude. It really did. It was kind of epic to watch. Lunar Entity said it was from the Fed chair pick. His policy stance is to effectively assist the average worker and rein in assets while the balance sheet trails off. Silver has dumped like that before memes were even a concept. I mean, it was pretty entertaining, I'm not going to lie. Michael Saylor, we read that. Gold falls under 5K. $3.15 trillion wiped out from gold and silver's market cap in the past 24 hours. President Trump says new Fed Chair Kevin Warsh will cut rates without any pressure. Gold crashes below 4,700, falling on over 13% in a single day. Senate officially passes bill to avoid U.S. government shutdown. Problem is, it won't be signed until Monday. So if you're a Kalshi person or a Polymarket person, keep that in mind. Probably not going to see anything until Monday. So technically, the government is going to have a partial shutdown over the weekend. Silver crashes below $80, falling over 30% in a single day. This one cracks me up. So we saw recently, Binance said that they're going to deploy $1 billion to buy Bitcoin. Okay, we read that, yep. They already, so when we had the October 10th crash, they said there was a glitch in our system. We're paying it was $384 million or something like that. We're going to pay out $384 million to those affected. And they knew those affected, or you had to apply. There was some weird thing. They were there was a mistake. $384 million got kind of rugged from people, so we're gonna make you guys whole. Our bad. Right there, they admitted guilt. They never should have done that. That being said, now they're even more guilty because people are starting to talk. They're starting to say, "I think Binance was responsible for this October 10th crash." So they're we are not responsible. But we're deploying $1 billion to buy Bitcoin. It's like a sorry, which again is kind of like if I stole $100 million from Lunar Entity, and then he had no idea. He's like, oh my gosh, JJ, I had $100 million stolen from me, and I'm like, oh man, that sucks so bad. I'll send you $100 grand because you're one of my good friends, and I appreciate you. You know, I still have $999 million, and he has no idea. That's basically what Binance did. Now they're claiming, now they published a whole thing. What happened in Binance's response? The October 10th crypto market. They are in full damage control. I would suspect JJ the entire time. Ethereum is not a viable liquidity layer for the internet capital markets. Binance today expressed delays, fees, and congestion on Ethereum mainnet was the reason for the October 10th flash crash of crypto. Mind you, Ethereum has gotten faster over the years. So if this was an actual issue, it would have been uncovered when we actually had volume and liquidity and volatility in the market like 2-3 years ago. I don't know what they're trying to claim here. Understand behind the scenes, the crypto exchanges rely on the movement of collateral and value between participants that directly support price pairs like market makers and lending protocols. During the October 10th, 2025 crypto flash crash, Ethereum's gas fees spiked significantly due to network congestion from panic activity, traders rushing to adjust positions, withdraw to stables, or execute trades on DEXs amid the chaos. In USD terms, single transaction costs hundreds of dollars, 400 to 600, for complex DeFi actions like swaps or collateral adjustments and transfers on mainnet. Mainnet Ethereum got jammed under load. It failed and caused the biggest liquidation cascade in crypto history. Many users shifted to L2s. Arbitrum base saw fees up to $50 to $100 in some cases. Solana, however, stayed sub $1 even at peak TPS. The congestion exacerbated DeFi pain. Liquidations on protocols like Aave, MakerDAO were delayed for some users who couldn't afford / fast enough transactions to add collateral or repay, leading to forced closures at bad prices. I don't know. 3-4 months later, now suddenly they have a solution. It smells like bullshit to me. All of this would be on chain, and if they can't come forward with any kind of proof, I think they're full of crap. A glitch in certain... Yes, it was a glitch. It was a stablecoin thing. Lunar Entity said silver. Yep, CryptoSpace's banker on base chain is doing extremely well. It's a Coinbase coin. Maybe on chain is coming back. Lunar Entity said a glitch is in a certain stablecoin provider. I would suspect JJ the entire time. Wait, they're blaming Ethereum? Yeah, it was Athena. USDE was illiquid and under collateralized. Just look at USDE's chart. Start from October. Yes, I remember that being confirmed. Do I do USDE, USDT? From October? September, yeah, October. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Is that there it is right there, October 10th. Whoa, this is a stablecoin, mind you guys. This wick is literally the price. The price went down to 65 cents at one point. This is what caused Terra Luna to collapse. A depegging stablecoin. USDEE. Okay, well this is a good example then. USDE versus Tether. Depegged. Big time. Big time. 65 cents is crazy. That's from October 10th. Let's go to the proper chart now. December, June, July, October. Holy crap. This is market cap. Is this the right one? Both charts paint the full picture. I mean, market cap definitely decreased. Is that it right there? No, that's October 28th. Right there, October 10th. October 10th right there. Damn, that's crazy. I could be wrong. Is USDE not like directly affiliated with Binance? Anyways, moving on from the conspiracy files. I apologize for not putting on my tinfoil hat. Normally I'm in costume. Marty Party updated his Bitcoin Wyckoff. I think he may have nailed it, guys. If we bounce from here, ish, or we could even still technically go down to 80K. His chart originally called for 80K, so don't be surprised if we go a little bit lower if you're kind of relying on this as a concept. But if we bounce from here, Marty Party may be worthy of a Fractal Duke title, dubbed by yours truly. Lunar Entity said both charts paint the full picture. Guess who profited from that DPEG? Wintermute. It was yes, no conspiracy. You're right. Yeah, they're full of shit. They're like, oh, it was Ethereum's fault. It wasn't Ethereum's fault. They're so full of crap. Now, what bugs me about this is Marty Party, who is very outspoken against Binance, is going to use this because he's also a Solana like maxi. He's going to use this instead to try to pump his bags versus, being maybe morally correct and calling out the bullshit, because this is bullshit. Ethereum did not cause the October 10th crash, because if it was Ethereum, nothing changed just before October 10th to cause that. So that would have happened years ago. It would have happened so long ago. Out of nowhere, some random October, there's some big cascading event on Ethereum, mind you. If it was like a Bitcoin thing, sure. Bitcoin was at all-time highs, whatever. But it wasn't. Altcoins looked like crap back then. They look like crap now. The liquidity was awful. Volume's been bad. There's no volatility. It was not an Ethereum problem. It was a Binance problem. And that's the bottom line. Allegedly. You can sue me, I guess, CZ. I just don't have any money, so good luck. Anyways, we got Bitcoin Wyckoff accumulation update January 30th. Remember we begin a CME gap today, which will probably be filled on Sunday evening. Possible scenarios remain: continued liquidations of remaining leveraged longs, lowest 25x Binance liquidation level at 79,350 right now. Completing this schematic with classic spring. Retest of secondary support at 81,800. The support held at 81,800, and we trade sideways or toward primary support, which has become resistance at 84.8. Most probable trade up through primary support 84.5 to 86,463, and then retest primary support 84.5 on Sunday night, closing CME gap. Not financial advice. Anything can happen in an unregulated market. It's cool to watch. It's all speculation. I'm not saying this is gospel, but I do enjoy watching somebody else's thesis play out. It's very satisfying. We gotta cheer for each other, man. We do. Crypto Spaces said the Binance hate is good. Made CZ bid 1 bill of BTC. Yeah, no. He's gonna have to do a little bit harder than that. 1 billion to them is like pocket change. We need him to bid 100 bill next, or 10 bill next, exactly, or 100 bill. 100 bill would even be even better. Allegedly, I remember this rumor years ago, like 2021 bull market. Allegedly, on chain, it's somewhat provable. Let me go tinfoil for a second. It is somewhat provable that CZ is the richest man in the world, just because of his amount of time that he's been in the market, and Binance being the largest cryptocurrency exchange on the planet, at least for a long time. He's had time and money to accumulate a ridiculously large amount of cryptocurrency, and that has all, for the most part, increased in value, which on chain makes him like stupid, filthy rich. So, yeah. Is that worth going to prison for? Probably. How long was he there? He wasn't even in there that long. Coinbase is the way, lesser evil, Lunar? Oh, 100%. For as much hate as Coinbase receives, they've been the lesser evil to Binance. I agree. I've never really had hate for Coinbase, ever. Everyone's like, oh, their fees. Everywhere else has fees just like that. It's an on-ramp. You get what you get. CZ has more Bitcoin than Sailor. I think CZ has more money than anybody on the planet. I'm convinced. Look at Justin Sun. Justin Sun has all that money, and he's nobody. CZ's like the head, again, of one of the largest exchanges on the planet. Okay. Kobe SE letter published. 2026 IPO launches will be historic. 1. SpaceX expected at 1.5 trillion valuation. OpenAI expected 1+ trillion valuation. Anthropic expected at 500 billion valuation. Meanwhile, reports have emerged that Elon Musk is considering merging SpaceX with Tesla/xAI. This would mark the largest corporate merger in history. The AI revolution is accelerating. Crypto Spaces said CZ has more Bitcoin, but it won't make it public. This is why I think he can control the market. Exactly. Fight Fan said, how low can Cookie DAO go? It's sitting on its golden ratio. I've heard. Cookie DAO. Let's go see. I don't remember. I think I've just looked it up on here before. Cookie DAO. Yep. How low can it go? At 0.02503. In the past, oh, it's actually relatively new. See, I never like charts like this. If it's below its launch price and it's just bleeding out, it's probably going to continue to go lower. What is the circulating supply of Cookie DAO? Number 773. Market cap 17.28. Okay, 70%. So there's still 30% that they can print. Is there an unlock schedule? Yeah, it's going to keep bleeding. They're going to unlock it and bleed the shit out of it until it's at 0. That's just my opinion. I might be wrong. But it definitely, being listed on the big exchanges, maybe I'm wrong. Now, that being said, that does not mean that this is not worth investing in. I really have no idea anything about the project. It is a micro cap at this point, like microscopic micro cap. So, if people do put money into it, there's a chance that it can really skyrocket for a nice quick flip. It's at 25. That's a nice psychological level. I don't know. Just look at psychological levels from this point forward. 25, 20, 15, maybe even 17.5. All those psychological levels are going to be areas that you want to pay attention to. Outside of that, though, there's not much TA can do because there's no price action previous down here. If you do go up, you're going to look at 4 for the next resistance level based on this support. Bitcoin. Let's go back to the 4-hour time frame. 84.108 and 18 cents. 70% of you guys said yes. Interesting. Very interesting. Do you think Powell will cut before he leaves? You guys said yes. Should we do another poll? Let's do another poll. Start poll. Do you think Bitcoin has bottomed in the short, medium term? Yes or no? Start poll. Let's see what you guys think. All right, continuing. We have a lot of news, so I apologize. I appreciate you guys for being patient, sticking around. Don't forget to smash the like button. We got a bunch of affiliate links and stuff in the description if you guys want to support the channel. It's a cool place to support the channel. All right. Bitcoin falls below 82K as 750 million of levered longs are liquidated in 60 minutes. 1.75 billion worth of levered crypto longs have been liquidated today. That's a lot of money. Gold futures fall $170 an ounce in under 2 hours as crypto liquidations surge and stock market futures decline. Crypto markets extend losses as over 780 million worth of levered longs are liquidated in 30 minutes. Bitcoin just erased 60 billion in market cap in under an hour. What a time to be a trader. Look at this. This is so scary. Looking at Bitcoin and it's all red and seeing 58%, it makes you think Bitcoin dumped 58% at first glance. It's like, what? What is that? Lunar Entity said, I would even argue the long-term notwithstanding some liquidity crisis similar to 2007. When I see it, sure. Giovanni said Bitcoin bottom 60 to 70 for Max Payne, to be honest. I'm still thinking 70. If we are in, like I said, that 12-month long true bear market. Americans are worried about their jobs. The perceived probability for households to find new position in 3 months after job loss is down to 43.1%, the lowest on record. This percentage has declined 15 points since May 2022. By comparison, the 2020 pandemic low was 46.2%. Meanwhile, the perceived probability of losing a job over the next 12 months is up to 15.2%, one of the highest readings since 2020 pandemic. This is also above the 12-month average of 13.5% and increased across all age and education groups. Anxiety about employment conditions among Americans is rising. Damn. Breaking gold futures fall 300 an ounce in 2 hours and officially dropped back below 5,200 an ounce. Volatility in gold markets is at 2008 levels. Damn. China has become a crucial source of liquidity for global financial system. China's non-official sector holdings of overseas assets surged 260 billion in Q3 2025 to a record 1.95 trillion. This marks a 1 trillion increase over the first 3 quarters of 2025, more than doubling the average annual growth over the last 10 years. Over this period, Chinese private investors bought $535 billion worth of U.S. and European stocks and bonds, outpacing any full-year increase over the last 2 decades. That's because they print so much of their money. The surge was driven by a record 1.2 trillion trade surplus, with 66% of foreign assets ending up with companies, individuals, and state lenders rather than the central bank. Interesting. There you go. That's all that money printing. As a result, China's central bank reserve asset rose just 230 billion in the first 3 quarters of 2025. China used to park most of its export earnings in central bank reserves, but now those funds flow through the private sector into global markets. The global financial system is becoming increasingly reliant on liquidity source from China. That is because they have been the biggest driver of money printing for the longest time. If you look at the M2 money supply with and without China, the difference is staggering. Activity in the silver market is exploding. Assets under management in the largest silver-backed ETF, SLV, have doubled to 50 billion in just 100 trading sessions. This marks the second fastest run for any US ETF, from 25 billion to 50 billion, only behind the largest Bitcoin ETF, IBIT, which hit this milestone in less than 50 trading days. By comparison, the MSCI EAFE ETF, that is such a jumble up mess of letters, IEFA, tracking developed markets outside the US and Canada, took 270 sessions. This comes as SLV has posted 5 consecutive daily gains over 3% in the longest streak since the fund was launched in April 2006. As a result, weekly trading volume in SLV is up to a record 79 billion, nearly double the previous peak in 2011. Silver's momentum is unprecedented. Breaking, U.S. stock market futures extend losses, with NASDAQ 100 futures down 0.75%. Silver extends losses to minus 11% on the day, now falling below $104 an ounce. It's below 100 now. Silver is now 5% away from entering a technical bear market. Breaking, gold and silver extend losses fall below 5,100 an ounce and 101 an ounce. Silver is now down 12% on the day. NASDAQ 100 futures fall over 1% as markets anticipate Kevin Warsh as President Trump's Fed chair pick. That's got to be a big gut punch to your ego, you know? You're already like, the president's going to announce my Fed chair pick today. And the wife is like adjusting his tie and stuff, and he's like eating breakfast and shit. And they're like, NASDAQ, S&P 500, global markets sell off as Kevin Warsh is nominated by President Trump. The guy's like, what the hell, man? What? Why would they sell off? That's not cool. What the hell did I do? I'm not even in the chair yet. Damn. Spot silver prices dropped below $100 an ounce for the first time since January 23rd. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. Also, what's the lady's name? Hold on. Rest in peace, Catherine O'Hara, the mom from Home Alone and Schitt's Creek. Absolute legend. She passed away today, age 71. One of the greats for sure. Untouchables. Cheers. Moment of silence. That lady was funny. Okay. Giovanni, if I read that, Lunar Entity said, this was another talking point of K-Wars. When he took the stage yesterday, the economy looked strong when propped up by the Fed, but he specifically noted he's not impressed with the underlying health. I can only picture Napoleon Dynamite when you do that voice, JJ. That is probably heavily inspired by Napoleon Dynamite. Napoleon Dynamite was one of the first movies that everyone quoted in school. Eventually, it just evolved into Step Brothers, which is also a brilliant movie. Thoroughly enjoy. What happened to comedy, man? When's the last time a good comedy movie came out? I feel like it's been forever. We need all the good comedians to team up again. President Trump nominates Kevin Warsh as next Fed chairman. I'm not going to read this whole thing. He basically like circle jerked him to death, which is awesome. Recent layoff announcements, guys. Yay! This is exciting because we're probably going to get an emergency Fed rate cut, which I was expecting, but they didn't do it, so I lost money on my Kalshi bets. Thanks, Powell. Morgan Victoria said, JJ, you stud. It's Morgan from the Dong community. Shout out to you, my bud. First live with you. Hell yeah. What's going on, Morgan? Lunar Entity said, I still own my vote for Pedro shirt. Nice. Okay, recent layoff announcements. 1. U.S. government, 307,000 employees. 2. UPS, 78,000. Amazon, 30,000. Intel, 25,000. Nissan, 20,000. Nestle, 16,000. Microsoft, 15,000. Bosch, 13,000. Dell, 12,000. Verizon, 13,000. Accenture, 11,000. Ford, wow, Ford 11,000, that's crazy. Novo Nordisk 9,000, Microsoft 7,000, PwC 5,600, Salesforce 4K, IBM 2,700, American Airlines 2,700, Paramount 2,000, Target 1,800, General Motors 1,500, Applied Materials 1,444, Kroger 1,000, and Meta 1,000. AI is officially replacing jobs at mass scale in the U.S. Where will all of these people go? Probably unemployment. I gotta say, really quick, General Motors only laying off 1,500 and Ford laying off almost 10 times that. That's a big GMW. I just want to point that out. I'm a Ford guy, grew up in a Ford family. My entire family kind of still works for Ford. I'm the outlier. But they laid off 11,000 people. GM only laid off 1,500. That's huge. That's like, talk about bragging rights. December PPI inflation comes in at 3% above expectations of 2.7%. Core PPI inflation unexpectedly rises to 3.3% above expectations of 2.9%. Core PPI inflation is now at its highest level since July 2025. PPI inflation is running hotter than expected. Who'd thunk? I like that this information comes out like 2 days after Powell is like, nah, we're not going to cut rates. It's fine. It's kind of funny. Incoming Fed Chair Kevin Warsh, 1, youngest Fed governor in history during 2008 financial crisis. 2, said the Fed waited too long to raise interest rates in 2022. 3, said the Fed lost credibility by overstimulating post, I'm going to say the word pandemic. 4, said quantitative easing inflates asset bubbles and worsened inequality. 5, claims to support a rules-based Fed, not discretionary policymaking. I like that one. 6, wants a smaller Fed balance sheet and more focus on price stability. A new era of monetary policy is ahead of us. It's going to be an interesting time for sure. Kobe SE Litter, crypto ETFs are recording massive outflows. Crypto funds saw 1.7 billion in outflows last week, the largest since mid-November. This marks the second largest withdrawal in at least a year. Over the last 3 months, investors have withdrawn 2.6 billion in total. Bitcoin ETFs alone posted 1.1 billion in redemptions, also the largest since mid-November. This was followed by Ethereum and XRP outflows of 630 million and 18 million respectively. Capital continues to rotate out of crypto. I gotta say, it was pretty impressive up until recently, obviously, that Solana and XRP had like consistent inflows, like since launch. I think they had like 2 red days. The rest of them was just money piling into them for probably the first couple weeks, at least, I think. Lunar Entity said the YouTube community is being penetrated by Dong. Hell yeah. Ford built that battery plant and then abandoned it recently with the Biden EV incentives ran dry, laid everyone off at the facility. That's so messed up. I'm concerned because my sister works there and she has a family. You know, my sister and her boyfriend both work there and they just bought a house. So hopefully it doesn't get worse. U.S. long-term unemployment is surging. The number of Americans unemployed for 15 plus weeks is up to 3.1 million, the highest since October 2021. Over the last 3 years, this figure has soared 1.2 million. During the same period, the number of unemployed Americans for 27 plus weeks has risen 900K to 1.9 million, the highest since December 2021. As a percentage of total unemployment, this metric rose to 26%, higher than all previous recessions except 2008, and 2020. As a result, it now takes an average of 11 weeks to find a new job, the longest since 2021. The U.S. labor market is weakening under the surface. That is terrifying. The U.S. population growth is slowing. I guess this is good if we don't have jobs. The total U.S. population rose by 1.78 million people in the 12 months ending July 1st, 2025, to nearly 342 million people. This marks the first decline in population growth since 2021. Last year, net immigration declined 50% year over year to 1.26 million people. At the same time, natural growth, births minus deaths, reached 519K. The total population is expected to increase just 756,600 for the first 12 months, for the 12 months ending July 2026. This will mark the slowest annual population growth this century. Population dynamics are rapidly shifting in the U.S. People can't afford to have kids. I'm just saying. Lunar Entity said, Jim Farley is a complete clown as CEO. I've never actually paid attention to the CEO of any of the auto companies, honestly. Spot silver falls as much as 35%, dropping below $75 an ounce, on track for its biggest daily decline in 46 years. That's crazy. Bitcoin, $83,966.46. Solana's a little bit green, up 0.62%. Currently trading at 118.32. XRP is a little bit green, up 0.09%. 173. Everything else is pretty quiet. DXY still climbing. Strategy. I'm still impressed that Strategy got a nice little bounce like that. Let's see if it maintains it. So far, it hasn't been able to. Dominance 59.75. It's gonna be, yeah, it's 59.75 might be a point of contention. Okay. Gold loses 6.3 trillion of market cap in 24 hours. It's the largest drawdown in history. That's minus $263 billion per hour for the last 24 hours straight. Giovanni said, bro, I applied to my current job in July 2025 and wasn't hired until October, and my first day was in November. That's why the number is so skewed. Yeah, that's crazy. Lunar Entity said he was the first to cry foul when Trump levied those tariffs at them for outsourcing. He was mad that Japanese were sourcing everything in the U.S. and not being tariffed. Yeah, that's why. So my dad was always like super diehard. You can't, if you drive anything but a Ford, you won't park in my driveway, that kind of guy. And I remember I just liked how the Honda Civic looked. And then I'm an adult now, and I'm like, why is there more foreign car factories in the United States than domestic car factories? Like the foreign cars are more American made than the American cars. That's kind of silly. And if we're being real, I would rather have a car that lasts long. And the best car out there is a Toyota, followed by Honda. Why is that? I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm not going to buy Ford just to support an American company when they're outsourcing all their jobs to different countries. I'd rather buy a Honda or a Toyota that's made in America by American people, provided jobs for Americans, and then I have a car that lasts longer. It's a win-win. I'm just saying. Giovanni said, I collected unemployment for 2 months and got that part-time job at Target because I was waiting to actually be hired on. Damn. Okay. Today is one of those days that will be referenced for 50 plus years. A near $10 trillion swing in precious metals market cap over 24 hours. That's a lot of money. Japanese retail traders are reducing bearish US dollar bets. Retail investors in Japan cut 561 million of net short positions in the USD JPY currency pair between Friday and Tuesday to 2.27 billion net short, the smallest bearish US dollar position in at least a year. This marks the largest 3-day reduction in bearish dollar bets since October 2022. Over the last 2 weeks, net short positioning has declined 723 million. Meanwhile, on Wednesday, the U.S. dollar recovered some losses after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the U.S. is not intervening in currency markets. Japanese markets remain a key driver of the USD. The U.S. goods trade deficit widened by 27.6 billion, or minus 95% in November, to 56.8 billion, the highest since July. This marks the largest monthly increase since 1992. Damn. This comes as the value of U.S. goods and services exports fell to $10.9 billion to $292.1 billion, the lowest since September. At the same time, imports jumped $16.8 billion to $332.1 billion, the highest since July. U.S. trade remains extremely volatile. Extremely volatility. I gotta love typos, man. Breaking: the U.S. has told India that it will be able to purchase Venezuelan crude oil soon to replace imports coming from Russia. New details emerge on the upcoming record-setting SpaceX IPO. Targeting a conservative $1.5 trillion valuation, SpaceX generated between $15 to $16 billion in revenue in 2025, looking to raise $50 billion in largest IPO of all time, targeting an IPO launch date of June 2026 to be led by Goldman, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, and Bank of America. The biggest IPO in history is imminent. That's crazy. Elon, I feel like Elon has the biggest everything. It's kind of crazy. One might think he's compensating. This is absolutely insane. Silver fell as much as 35% during intraday trade today, its largest intraday drawdown in history, yet silver prices still closed the month green, rising 19%. This means silver has now risen for 9 straight months. History is an understatement. Despite falling as much as 35% today, silver rises 19% on the month. That's pretty epic. Right here. This is what I was talking about earlier. Breaking: talks over $100 billion deal between OpenAI and NVIDIA have stalled. NVIDIA's Jensen Huang has reported privately criticized OpenAI's business strategy. I mean, if there's one guy that you should probably listen to, it's Jensen Huang, the freaking CEO of the largest company on the planet. Breaking: the US OMB confirms a government shutdown will begin at midnight. So we got Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday it's going to be signed into law to avoid the shutdown. Technically, though, there is a partial government shutdown this weekend. So Kalshi, Polymarket Bets, beware. If you guys are interested at all, you can sign up to Kalshi with the link in the description. We both get $25 when you deposit and make a bet with $25 of your own money. It is non-withdrawable site credit, though. Helps support the channel. It's a lot of fun, but treat it like gambling because it is gambling. Trueflation posted producer price index inflation runs hotter than expected. PPI came at 3.0% year over year for December I just made up that entire word. For December, the same as the previous month, but above market expectations of 2.7%. Core PPI inflation was 3.3%, up from 3.1%, and far above the expected 2.9%. The increases were driven by a 3.2% rise in the cost of services, while goods cost inflation was 2.5%. The producer price index reflects the inflation at the wholesale level, or the selling prices received by the domestic producers. It may be an early gauge of official consumer price inflation, as wholesale costs between producers and merchants are often passed on to the final consumer. Both the BLS CPI and PPI remain elevated, with the PPI even edging up, while we see a significant cooling wave in our real-time real price consumer data. That's quite a mouthful. The U.S. trade deficit increased. We read about that already. 3-month moving average, monthly deficit. Imports increased 5%, while exports were down 3.6%. That being said, an unusually wide gap and high deficit in November could be a temporary surge ahead of tariff implementation. The Senate narrowly passed a bill to avoid a U.S. government shutdown. The bill returns to the House of Representatives, who will consider new amendments for final passage on Monday. Despite the Senate's successful last-minute vote on Friday, a brief lapse in government funding is still possible. That's what Saturday, Sunday is going to be. Q3 2025 labor productivity, just revised by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, showed 4.9% increase in non-farm business sector labor productivity, 5.4% increase in non-farm business sector labor output, 0.5% increase in hours worked, 1.9% decrease in unit labor cost. This means work was becoming more effective in Q3 2025, with higher output at lower costs, as the increase in hourly compensation did not match the surge in productivity. Real hourly compensation, which corrects compensation for consumer price inflation, decreased 0.2% in Q3 2025. However, BLS data suggests that unit labor costs increased by 1.3% over the last 4 quarters, with real hourly compensation up 0.3% over 4 quarters. Do you feel you're earning more for all the extra output and productivity you and your AI are providing? I don't know. That's a great question. Calvin said the amount of money precious metals lost today is staggering. Not saying metals are wrecked, just saying the amount of money invested of late might be. Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot of top buyers got swept pretty damn hard. I would be pretty spooked if I just got it. Could you imagine your buddy or like your uncle or something is like, you gotta go all in on gold, and you're like, okay, and you do it right here, and you see just this crazy exponential growth, and you literally buy right there, and suddenly you're down 22%. I would be so pissed. I would be so mad. Update: Hyperliquid led 24-hour fee revenue with $3.6 million, followed by EdgeX 1.3, Tron 1.2, and Solana 1.1. Just in, US SEC and CFTC launched Project Crypto to align regulatory standards for digital assets. Circle says 2026 will focus on scaling stablecoins as real financial infrastructure for global payments and on-chain business use. Donald Trump said Kevin Warsh will cut interest rates without pressure from the White House. Good for him. Lunar Entity said Gold Futures has the highest traffic of any single asset. That's crazy. Alert: Bitcoin is heading for its longest monthly losing streak since 2018, down nearly 6% in January. Tom Sellerscoat said it happens to me once a week on some Solana shitters, right? Bullish: Kevin Warsh, Trump's nominated Fed chair, shed. Bitcoin does make sense as part of a portfolio. If you're under 40, Bitcoin is your new gold. Now, precious metals are down sharply, with silver down nearly 29%, gold down about 9%, and platinum down over 19% in a single session. Silver is still down 26.3% on the day. That's pretty crazy. Yep, read that. Alerts: Bitcoin dropped. This one's crazy. This is a big deal. Bitcoin dropped out of the world's top 10 assets after heavy liquidations drove its market cap sharply lower. I think my favorite part about all of this is instead of actually retrieving the information themselves, Cointelegraph chose to just screenshot this guy's post and shared it themselves and basically 10x'd his views, which is kind of dirty. Like, oh, okay, is it a repost? No, they just took a screenshot. That's crazy. I hope that guy actually gets some traffic from that, but damn, that's kind of messed up. Update: Binance founder CZ dismissed accusations that the exchange caused last October's crypto market crash, calling the claims far-fetched during a live AMA session. They literally admitted to a problem when it happened. I don't know. Could you be any more full of shit? Bitcoin OG Insider is deep in the red, sitting on over 110 million in unrealized losses across Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana after aggressive long positions. Damn. At least he's not liquidated yet. Kraken backed, are you ready? Kraken backed Crack Acquisition Corp. That's the actual name. Raised 345 million in an upsized NASDAQ IPO, creating a new SPAC vehicle focused on future deals in the digital asset ecosystem. Crack Acquisition Corp. What an amazing name. That is a brilliant name. I love that. I gotta repost that later. Lido V3 is now live on Ethereum mainnet, introducing ST Vaults as modular staking infrastructure powered by ST ETH. Just so you guys are aware, Ethereum's liquid staking requires a queue. You have to wait weeks, sometimes months to stake, and weeks, sometimes months to unstake. That is Ethereum, or Vitalik Buterin's version of liquid staking. I'm not sure what he thinks liquid means, but it's definitely not a queue taking weeks to months. Tether published its Q4 2025 attestation showing more than $10 billion in net profits, $6.3 billion in excess reserves, and total U.S. Treasury exposure exceeding $141 billion. That's a lot of money. RWA holders jumped nearly 10x over the past year, nearing 800K, and on pace to surpass 1 million soon. Yeah, this is going to continue to grow exponentially, I think. huge. The total crypto market cap has lost 480 billion since January 14th. That's a lot of money. This is for everyone bashing Bitcoin right now. Feel free to tag them. This is a great post. Number go up. Number only go up. We like number go up. Crypto Bully posted, people complain about altcoins. Not even the largest asset on earth can survive Binance listings. Also, you can trade gold and silver on Binance. And that was right here at $120. That's too funny, man. That's so good. Binance is gonna get their timing is impeccable. God, that's funny. SanDisk explosion. Number go up on SanDisk, continuing to go up. Gold's market cap as a percentage of M2 money supply just hit its highest level in nearly a century, 171%. Damn. Chinese yuan hits strongest level against the US dollar in almost 3 years. That's also crazy. Cocoa falls to lowest price since 2023. Time to load up on chocolate. That just reminds me of that SpongeBob episode. Gold volatility soars to highest level since the pandemic. Gold plunging to prices not seen since last week. Stay safe, everyone. Oh no. Breaking silver, SLV ETF posts biggest loss in history. Holy crap. Samuel Benner, a farmer from the 1800s, published a book with market analysis on periods of panic, good times to buy, and good times to sell. 150 years later, his analysis has proven to be remarkably accurate. What a freaking legend. Apple's 8-week losing streak has come to an end. Buying the dip works sometimes. What a rug pull in silver. Worst day in 46 years. Wow. Bitcoin ETFs head for 3 straight months of outflows for the first time in history. I gotta say, at least November was huge. December and January being a little bit smaller makes me feel a little bit better. Natural gas gap fill is complete. We got a couple coin confessions. Lunar Entity said, Coinbase is now such a large validator for Ethereum that they have enough Ethereum to allow paying customers to unstake on demand. Lunar Entity said, not sure if the service has been made available to all users yet. I just don't like that they're like, we have liquid staking, and then it's the most illiquid staking ever. Like, that's embarrassing. Coin confessions. I once paid a witch to curse Do Kwon. That one is freaking hilarious. Went from 4K to 400K, cashed out less than 50K and lost everything. Invested again, run it to 800K only to get back to 60K. Tried it once more and reached 2.7 million. I'm now $800,000 in debt. Worst thing, I still think I have an edge. I mean, if you could do that and you increase substantially every single time, just learn to take profit, man. The second I get to 400K, I'm taking 300K out, dude. If I cannot make money with $100,000 in the market, I can't make money at all. You just turned 4K to 400K. Take 300K. It's not that hard. I'm not trying to be a dick, but you can learn to take profit. This one, Coin Confessions, I rugged my own Zora coin after Jesse aped it, and I feel really good about it. That's kind of funny. That one just made me laugh. And last but not least, we have a very, very rare post from TechDev. He said, watch Bitcoin dominance about to leg down as Bitcoin resets, with business cycle bottomed and liquidity rising. Next macro leg up, closer than most think. It's a big one. TechDev does not post a lot, doesn't ask for money. Brilliant posts when he does post, so I'm waiting for this business cycle thing to flip to see if he's right. Silver still chilling, 85.31.33. Gold still chilling, 48.95.11. And Bitcoin also chilling, $83,942.31. We're not going to do a portfolio update. Everything's down bad, pretty bad. We can do percentage, I suppose. 1K to 10K Grok portfolio is down 58%. The meme coin portfolio is down 67.5%. Narrative portfolio is down 40, pretty much 50%. And the knife catching portfolio is down 52%. And that is it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's pretty dang late, so I think I'm going to call it an evening. We got a confirmed green down in the 4-hour time frame on Bitcoin, so we'll see if that results in anything fun. I got to wake up early tomorrow, though, so I'm going to call it. I appreciate you guys for stopping by. As always, when the market starts to do anything crazy, I will hop back on. Otherwise, I will see you all tomorrow. Don't forget to smash the like button on your way out. Happy Friday and good night. If you haven't already, join the Discord down below. It's completely free and it's a ton of fun.